Please hit the thumbs up button to support my channel Story 2 original poster. This will probably be a long post and all over the place, but got to start somewhere. About 8 months ago, my wife decided to start staying up later and later on Discord playing a game. Very popular collection game that is literally never ending. I told her I didn't like going to bed alone all the time, but that was in one ear and out the other. She would be up until 2 or 3 a.m. when work started for her at 9. For almost the last year, I've gone to bed alone every night and was woken up when she got in. I tell her I felt alone and that we are roommates. She says she has insomnia and has a hard time sleeping. First time in 10 years I've heard this. I say the time spent online is not healthy and that she doesn't really do anything to take care of the house either. We get into a fight. She says the time on Discord and game are not a problem, and I say she is lazy and needs to just put effort into anything but that game. 2 months back she lost her job and has decided to no longer work. I tell her when she lost it that we will find something for her. I don't care what she does or how much she makes, just do something. She has pretty much spent all her free time on Discord for the last 6 months at this point, and I'm not real happy to hear she lost her job. I make enough to cover us though. She is in tears and freaking out, but I console her. Fully capable 31-year-old with a freaking PhD, and she is done doing anything productive, but whatever. Won't even clean out crap from our house to sell that has been sitting there for 3 years. The reasons her boss gives are damn near the same I told her about the relationship, not paying attention, following up, not getting to things on time, etc. I tell her that I think Discord helped get her fired and she literally blows up, screams in my face like bloody murder at the top of her lungs, calls me an asshole and she effing hates me. Says I am just pushing her buttons and making it worse. I walk away and she goes upstairs to sleep the rest of the day. Around the same time I asked her who she was on Snapchat with all the time. She replies with game friends, which I say that's weird, don't you talk to them on Discord? Why are you talking about the game on Snapchat instead of where you play it? Her reply is simply, I don't know, we just do, some of them use that. I think it is sketch as F and don't believe her. She is spending 20 minutes in the bathroom at a time, multiple times a day. Staying up all night, literally coming to bed an hour before I wake up for work. I decide to cross a line and put a camera in the bedroom before I leave for work for a week. The literal next morning I find she is on Snapchat getting off with another guy for like 3 hours on end. All week, this is all she is doing from noon to about 3. Just looking at snaps from the guy and using a BOB from her nightstand. I am effing livid, but decide to talk to her first when I come back. She wasn't crossing the line of actual sex, but in my head she might as well have. I couldn't read the Snapchats over video, but could easily tell the context of the pictures going back and forth. I saw her pin too. When I came home, I couldn't sleep at all and went into her phone. She started messaging him in April and have had this relationship going daily. Love you, hearts, can't wait to be with you, thanks for the good F, etc. Furious, I leave the house and go to a buddy's who works overnight. I call off work and hang out there running my options, who to call for divorce, where to take my stuff, etc. I come home from work and she notices something is up with me. I say I'm just super depressed and feel I am losing her. She goes and unsaved 90% of the explicit snaps that right after that. But doesn't stop talking to the guy, and still has a few pictures and Johnson pics saved. I have photos of all the snaps, and then photos the next night when they were unsaved, but was talking all day anyways. She wants to have sex the next night, but my body does not agree. She gets shitty about having to touch my Johnson. I don't get why after making out and grinding you aren't just hard and ready to go. I blow up and say I know you love him. I saw all the messages for the last few months. That is why I can't do this. I can't look at you the same. We have a deep conversation. She says she doesn't like what she has become and really wants to change. Okay, fine. She says I have been distant and not interested in her. I say I hate going to bed alone and feel she is avoiding me. The next day I see she breaks up with the guy. She woke up and was on Snapchat, then an emotional wail and furious texting, and the phone was down. I asked her 2 days later and she showed me her Snapchat and he wasn't in the list. I am very hurt and torn about everything. I wonder how long it would have gone on if I didn't say anything. Why did I have to be the one to say anything too? She wanted to have sex and act like there was nothing wrong, when visually you could see I was in despair. She claims the Snapchat guy was a sex worker relationship. But they were singing to each other over Snapchat and talking about their day-to-day, every day, and love you. It's such a pure, effortless love and SHT like that. I tell her I don't think it was a sex worker type thing at all and she was lining up a relationship. She says that I was so mean and upset she was just waiting for divorce to happen and didn't know what to do. Which I say, so you go and seek out another relationship. There were so many opportunities for her to come to me and say she was feeling alone, unloved, and I would have told her to stop avoiding me and that I felt the same lack of intimacy. I told her that it seems there is no guilt or shame of what she did, only that she was caught 100% red-handed and knows she can't lie her way out of it. In the last 2 weeks since then, it has been better. She has tried to put in an effort in the house chores, but I'm realizing that if I don't sink all my free time into playing and talking about that game, she doesn't give a F about anything else. I've said simply that I want our life to involve more than that single thing, which she says, why does it matter, if it's something we enjoy together? Yes, true, but not just that one thing, and for hours every night without fail or end. She started doing stuff around the house, but I think it all is too little too late now after finding out about the other guy. I don't feel it fair for me to work and her ass sit at home. I don't trust her either doing nothing. She tells me she felt alone, distant, unloved because I wasn't trying to initiate sex, but I ask how could I when you never come to bed? Literally unless I stayed up until 3 or 4 a.m. on the weekends we never went to bed together and has no interest any other time of the day. We talked about counseling, but I am doubtful it will make her want to be ambitious and productive like when we met and married. It will help the resentment and deep hurt more than anything. I also look at bigger picture things for the last few years I've been unhappy about, and the smaller picture stuff from the last few months, and I think going off on my own might be the best. We have no kids. We tried last year for about a year, but unless her app told her she was fertile, we did not have sex. And when it did, I was getting woken up about 4 hours after I fell asleep because that is obviously, she was interested. No care or regard that I only get 5 to 6 hours every night before work, and that I'm getting woken up early and likely won't fall back asleep before my alarm goes off. I just wonder if it is all worth it anymore. I live with a teenage roommate. I am ambitious and driven, have a career that is growing, while she is content just dumping time into this game. She is now an admin for the game, and literally has to spend 8+ hours every day like a job, and there is zero way to monetize it. No one can criticize her, including her parents. She says, how about you not tell me how to live my life, thanks. I think that is good for now. I could type in circles going back and forth. Just typing it all out has helped me realize I deserve better than this and harboring resentment and doubt. I agree. I feel at this point the last 2 weeks is just her biding time and knowing the paycheck gets bigger. I do have a consultation scheduled later this week with one of the best attorneys in the area. My state is equal split, but I am hoping to show that she is fully capable of working but chooses not to, and get a dissolution instead and walk away with our assets and income. There was no infidelity on my side and has never even been a thought. As I've reflected, I feel I still love her in the sense that I hope she gets her shit together, finds a job or meaning, and can get back to the personality of the person I married. I don't think I love her in the affectionate, let's build a life and kids together type of way. I honestly can't see her as a mother anymore when she can barely take care of herself day to day. But I don't think she wants to be that person anymore. She would rather hide in a virtual world where she is constantly needed, or find someone who will worship the ground she walks on without question and let her do anything or nothing if she pleases. I felt a big part of me wanted to be a better man and honor the marriage, because no actual meetup and affair happened. But again, how long until it would have? And her being home all day, I think it is inevitable. I know the answer, it is just absolutely nerve-wracking to throw away about 1/3 of my life, the last 10 years. I asked her how she was okay throwing out 10 years on an effing internet boy, and I think it really sunk in, but too late. And just to throw some bigger picture issues out there. I've done all the shopping the last year, 1-2, for house supplies, food, animal necessities. Did the shopping and paid for it. Did 95% of the house chores the last 3 years, and we argued about that over and over. Like, how can someone be so okay with doing nothing and letting someone else just deal with stress of a job and also most of the house responsibilities? I've said for a while that I take care of my own, and even asked her about 2 months ago what the point of our relationship was. No kids, no ambition or desire, just living in this house together. I literally needed an answer because I couldn't think of one, and all I do for a living is come up with solutions to tough problems. She replied with, "I don't know." Says enough right there. Then I found out what she was doing, and I understood her answer. Thank you to everyone who already replied to this. I have been on the fence for a week posting here, but I knew I had to get it off my chest and get some viewpoints of people who have seen it firsthand. It helps take off the blinders, so to speak, of thinking that I have to keep dumping energy and emotion into this. My viewpoints of normal in a relationship have been twisted so much over time I felt it wasn't that bad. But then I keep stepping back to look at the bigger picture of 3 years of marriage, trying to just look at who puts in what, or what does she do to try and offload responsibility for me, and there is not much she does without me asking or fighting her on it. Thankfully, we never put finances together. She bought the house before we married and never wanted to do a quick claim deed or claimed ignorance to it. I've always given her checks for the mortgage, but for the last 8 months she hasn't cashed any. There is nearly $8,000 hanging over my head. All accounted for already, but even before I found out what happened, I told her it gave me so much anxiety that my bank account was never accurate. It is her world, and I am to revolve around it. Comment is correct when he stresses, no MC. I repeat, no marital or couples counseling. Do not do this. So, it bears repeating. I took my ex to MC, and I found out after a few sessions that she intended to keep going, keep the affair continuing, and basically string me along for a few months while she got her finances in order. It was a waste of money and time. That said, you might want to check into therapy for yourself, because what your wife has put you through is very traumatic. Thank you to everyone who already replied to this. I have been on the fence for a week posting here, but I knew I had to get it off my chest and get some viewpoints of people who have seen it firsthand. It helps take off the blinders, so to speak, of thinking that I have to keep dumping energy and emotion into this. My viewpoints of normal in a relationship have been twisted so much over time I felt it wasn't that bad. But then I keep stepping back to look at the bigger picture of 3 years of marriage, trying to just look at who puts in what, or what does she do to try and offload responsibility for me, and there is not much she does without me asking or fighting her on it. I'm not sure if this is always the case or if it's just something that you and I share in our stories. My ex treated me bad the last 5 years of the marriage. She stopped doing things and contributing to the family and all of that. She criticized a lot of minor bullshit that I did. I think our respective partners do that to justify their cheating. I don't know, but I will tell you this, once you heal and start dating other women, you'll look back and realize that not only was the abuse from the affair bad, but their behavior towards you was bad as well. Thankfully, we never put finances together. She bought the house before we married and never wanted to do a quick claim deed or claimed ignorance to it. I've always given her checks for the mortgage, but for the last 8 months she hasn't cashed any. There is nearly $8,000 hanging over my head. All accounted for already, but even before I found out what happened, I told her it gave me so much anxiety that my bank account was never accurate. It is her world, and I am to revolve around it. Well, she's going to find out that it's not a geocentric universe, and you'll orbit your own star soon enough. I would disagree with calling this only an emotional affair, not to minimize emotional affairs, which are extremely damaging, and that your cheating wife didn't cross the line physically. Once people start engaging in solely explicit activities outside of their relationship, whether it is over video, texting, etc., that's physical. Was her getting off in front of you part of your sex life? Did she say the same loving and or highly solely charged things? Did she text you? If she did things such as self-touching or penetrate herself for another man's viewing pleasure, it crossed the line into physical. Maybe she didn't touch anyone else's Johnson, and I personally would consider that to be even worse, but what she has done is pretty f***ing bad as it is. What you have here is for certain an emotional affair plus a long-distance or virtual physical affair. By the way, I have read dozens of similar stories where online affairs end up with in-person consummation, or there was an ongoing in-person aspect that was not known. Having said that, I think the question here is not so much can you reconcile with your wife, but more if you want to reconcile with her. I don't mean to sound callous, but she appears to be kind of nuts if not diagnosable mentally ill. I think you have already decided you don't want this in your life going forward. I'm not somebody who has a lot of confidence in people finding the happiness they deserve in their lives with cheater or liars. I don't think people profoundly change very often once they are adults. It is rare. Even more rare when combined with mental disorders. And even if she did change, what she did may be unacceptable to you and a deal breaker. Outside of your own life, you may also consider what the effect on your future children might be. Again, it appears you know your course. Just adding my point of view. Good luck to you. Original poster, that is how I feel. It is just time biding while she figures out what to do, or to drain her finances and claim she needs support. I will definitely get therapy on my own. I have some massive trust issues with women now. I hate that I had to get into the mindset of snooping on my wife. She would never admit to anything though. She never has in her life unless you confront her with piles of proof. Once I did that, and she knew I had copies of copies saved, her attitude changed. Now I just feel slighted that it took her getting caught in an affair to want to change. What in the FCK? How can someone justify that in their head? I agree with you, it is more than an emotional affair. No, she never did that with me. She always would say she never wanted pictures like that of her out there. I actually sent her some while I was on vacation and she replied with a few snaps. I found out when I came home that she sent them to him earlier in the day, but told me I hope Snapchat doesn't save these LOL. All my doubt about what was going on started because I knew she was pulling out a BOB even on days I was off work instead of even showing an interest. She is not the type to watch PRN, so I had my suspicions on what she was using as material. And I agree there is some mental illness there, which is what has me torn the most, feeling bad about leaving when she isn't in the right mind state. Then again, she knew enough to keep that hidden for several months, and had the capacity for all those mental gymnastics to rationalize it. There is no excuse, and again, plenty of opportunity along the way to talk with me instead of jumping off the deep end. I can't even talk to her about that game. As soon as it is brought up, I get screamed in the face and called an effing asshole for pushing her buttons. She thinks it has zero influence. I literally was waking her up on my day off during the week because her alarm would be going at full blast for 15 minutes. I wondered how in the F she was waking up the rest of the week, which is immediately followed up by bloody murder volume screaming. Thanks everyone for the support. Things have been amicable. As long as I don't press her buttons, our life continues on without fanfare, and I just end up doing some projects I've put off to kill some time. I meet with an attorney this afternoon for initial consultation. I asked a dumb question Friday after she woke up at noon, have you thought about a job yet? And she blew up at me. When she first lost her job, I told her she could do anything. I didn't care how much it brought in, just anything. If you want to craft and sell it online, cool. Just try something and see if it is viable. The idea was also to try for a kid again since I make enough to cover it. I told her that was fine up until you sought another relationship. Now I know when you have all the free time to do what you want, that is what you will try to do. So no, I am not okay with you not working anymore and being home all day. She tells me she is so depressed she can't even think about what to do and hates me for just changing my mind suddenly and starts to cry. It just all seems fake. She is depressed when it is convenient for her and her narrative. This is a bigger picture thing from the last few years whenever we argue. There is no responsibility ever taken, and I've said to her before, everything that is wrong in your life is either because of something I did or something I didn't do. It's always attributed to me. The rest of the weekend was fine. I begrudgingly joined her for an event in that game. I bought Access almost a month ago and was just avoiding a fight the rest of the weekend, where there was shit also, so it was an easy time killer. No issues, and we both had a good time. But it goes back to that game, and how that is the only time we are enjoying each other, either playing or talking about it. I am the only one to think and plan other activities for us. I have to be the one to come to her for anything, and I just feel burnt out from being the only one to give AF for so long. It feels I am the only one who wants to keep improving and not just be stagnant. Maybe it's my 30s and no kids. I just am starting to question what the point of this marriage is. But now we are at Monday. I come back to the bigger picture things that have been issues for over a year, and I have been really unhappy. I doubt she will look for a job today. She likes to start house chores the hour I am coming home from work to show me she is doing stuff. But, after doing all this stuff for years, I know how long it takes to vacuum and do the dishes, and just wonder what the hell else did you do with all your time today. But if I ask, I get callous responses like, why do you care? IDK, because you did some pretty deceitful shit when you had time on your hands, so I am trying to show some interest in you and see if you did anything else besides sleep in and play. And yes, she always lies or withholds details of things until confronted. Unfortunately, her last line of work is exactly who I am going to need to hire, so it is in her blood. She did family law, but when she was fired, she swore it all off completely and wanted to change careers. I was supportive and agreed that it ruined her personality dealing with issues like this. I know that plays into her depression, but if it is that bad, then why don't you just communicate with me what you are feeling? No, she would rather resent me for not being able to read her mind. This weekend kind of just showed me that I don't think anything will change as long as I am around. She is not in therapy right now, although I did bring it up that she should about a month ago. She said a few times that it is physically tough to get out of bed in the morning, so she ends up sleeping more. But she had no issue whipping out her vibrator and putting in the effort to get off with another guy for hours after waking up. That's where I think a lot of this is just for show and to fit her narrative. I am working on getting things in line. Already found a place to stay with a friend a few months and a storage unit for my stuff. Thankfully, my job is solid and secure, so no worries there. I am aiming for separation and counseling for now, just to legally end support ASAP. If it doesn't work out, then dissolution. Consult with the attorney went well, answered some questions I had and set my expectations. I am going to try for a dissolution instead of divorce, and instead of counseling, separation. My attorney said that any evidence I have of infidelity would be submitted to the court for a divorce and be attached to her name through public record, which could hurt if she wants to go back into law later. I'm not looking to ruin her life any more than she has already, so I hope my wife agrees and will just come to terms instead of wanting to make a point and fight me. Half my accounts and assets valuation minus debt is almost equal to the house appreciation plus principal paid since marriage, so that may end up better than I thought and be pretty even. She keeps the house and I keep my accounts, which I am fine with. It would come down to if she wanted to fight over value of my collections and equipment, but my attorney understands it was all separately purchased and was my own debt that I have taken care of. Attorney agreed there would very likely be no spousal support and the judge would tell her to go work. Busy rest of the week with my job, but I am going to start making a list this weekend of all assets and start moving some stuff to storage in case my wife wants to get destructive after the news is dropped. Need to run some numbers to make sure, but I am a bit calmer today about my decision and future outlook, although a bit anxious about the next steps and the conversation after dropping a bombshell on her. There is no easy way to confront it, obviously. I haven't planned when to confront. Maybe after I'm back in town from the next few days. I need to tell the attorney to go ahead and start drafting dissolution papers, but I want to make sure I have a good extensive list of assets and valuations first, right? Or do I just tell my wife I intend to file for it? I mean, she already knows I am sitting on photos and videos of her Snapchats and bedroom sessions. I told her bluntly, I was holding them until counseling was resolved and we were better, or in case we went through a divorce, I wanted proof of the infidelity. She was concerned why I had them saved, how they were taken, when, thought I was looking every day getting upset and I'd never get over it. Nope, looked twice, saw everything one night, then saw it was all deleted the next night. Then I made copies and they were stashed away in secure locations. She threatened to call the cops on me saying I was harboring or sharing revenge PRN of her, and I straight up said, do it right now then, call them and I will tell them why I have videos of you and we'll see what they think. There is no way to publicly access them, they are not shared in any way, nothing happened of course. I am just focusing on making a solid list of assets and getting some more stuff out this weekend. Then I can go back to the attorney with better valuations and requests and move on to the next step of writing up a dissolution. I'm looking at grabbing a VAR also this weekend. Thanks for the support, everyone. I've made a pretty good asset list and next appointment to start writing up dissolution papers is in early August. When I met earlier this week, I was still on the fence about separation counseling versus dissolution, but a few days to think about it has helped my decision. Yes, I agree with most of the people here. She has mental health issues, and I think the last year, family member and 2 animals dying, and then losing her job has crushed her and brought on more. She kind of always has been a hoarder, which is a long-standing issue since we got married. Her favorite activity pre-COVID was to just go thrift store, discount store shopping and buy shit. She was pretty crafty and had fantastic ideas about so much. I just noticed really fast that after our wedding she didn't want to do anything with it anymore. I told her one time I felt she checked out overall as soon as she was married. There was just no desire, and literally most of a Joann fabric store upstairs sitting and used, now for 3 years. She has 2 rooms packed and I was told by her, don't effing touch it, you don't know what it's worth, I'll sell it, go through it, just give me time. Not much gives me anxiety, but all that stuff does. She wanted a kid and I told her, where the hell are we going to put it, and she literally rolled her eyes at me. I said, no, seriously, I'm not giving up my office because it's the clearest room, we have to get rid of all the shit in one of the other rooms. This was like 2 years ago now it was first brought up. I asked her very calmly and nicely to start going through one room, offered to help, take pictures, list items for sale, whatever she needed, just that we start working on it and make progress so that we can have a kid and move on in our relationship. 3 months, nothing. 6 months, door hasn't even been opened by her once since I asked. 9, 12, 15, she just doesn't give a F and won't even start. She started snapping when I asked at 3 and 6 months, I'll get to it, don't rush me, or stop asking, it just gives me anxiety and I won't want to, after 6 effing months already of not touching it once. This is where I started to get mean and distant in her eyes. I was fed up and bitter, already doing 95% of the house chores and upkeep and taking care of animals for pretty much our whole relationship. I worked more hours than her every week and still took the time to do this so our house wouldn't look like shit, inside and out, all the yard work and gardening too. The pandemic meant I was doing all the shopping now. She was working from home and didn't give a F to help with normal adult stuff that comes with owning a house and, well, having an adult life. But the one thing I tell her I need help with is just completely ignored, and I get yelled at for asking what's going on. I could go on for a long time of all the normal adult SHT I've had to ask her to do over the years, and she just fought with me instead. Or she would have a comment about how something was done, so I told her to stop backseat driving the relationship. If you have a problem with how I take care of it, then do something about it. Don't just complain and get mad when I don't immediately do it to your standards, especially when you would never even do that task in the first place. But still, none of this justifies her response. If she felt that alone and hurt, she had so much opportunities to just tell me, and we could have gone to counseling. Instead, she wanted to find someone else. That's where I feel there is no chance with counseling and just need to leave and be on my own now. I am starting to feel glad I found out, because it made me step back and look at the last few years and really question if I was happy, and I haven't been. It was the straw that broke my back. Talked and hired attorney. We have a meeting next week and wife needs to bring her statements to get the dissolution written up. Later last night, I tell her I have talked to an attorney and have them on retainer. I told her I know she is still adding guys on Snap just in the last few days. She says they are just friends who send pictures of their day or whatever. Okay. But when you are already on Discord talking, then why are you going to Snapchat? We all know what that app is for. And the picture she sent was just a nice headshot of her, so looks like you are putting yourself out there fishing for guys and trying to start relationships still. She is still staying up late and I'm going to bed alone. Very recently she stopped waking me up at 4 a.m. for intimacy. I said if I am working this can't be on her schedule only and I need sleep to work well, so we haven't at all, because there is no meeting in the middle with her on that. Still hasn't looked for a job or tried anything to bring money in. She says that the house chores and trying to organize one room is too much for her to handle right now, but she still doesn't do a whole lot. Still nothing with the dishes, trash, yard, shopping, cooking, laundry, like this shit is not that hard to do, there is just no desire to put the time in. And if you can't do this, how the FCK am I supposed to feel okay or confident in you staying home to raise a kid? No way. She wants to do counseling but is worried there is probably too much resentment on both sides now and will just stir up more emotions she is trying to get over and doesn't want that pain. I get that and feel the same. I am not without fault in this and I recognize it. I told her a few times she is lazy as F and that ruins my desire for her and is severely unattractive. I said this after everything that happened the last year and she was at her lowest point, which wasn't right of me. She just became bitter. I was mad at her about anything at all. Then mad when she found her game and it made her happy, and I was upset she still wasn't doing anything to help drive our life. She is okay with sinking dozens of hours a week into some game but can't get off her ass to support our home. I said if her depression was that bad, why didn't you say you needed anything from your husband? Why did you decide to become bitter with me, check out and start looking for someone else? I told her I was ready for a divorce like 3 to 4 months ago after a fight. She said okay and started thinking of the next step. However, 6 months into our marriage she pulled that card out and threatened divorce on me because of whatever reason or fight. I just had to have that hang over my head thinking at any moment she could. It was her job and I told her just go ahead and do it and file. I've heard it at least 5 times in the last 3 years, pretty much once every 6 months. But, when I am okay with it, she hypocritically just wants to check out immediately. It won't hang over her head. She doesn't think I ever asked her nicely over the last 3 years to either help me with stuff, or show some gratitude and respect for me putting the time in on my own for us and to help her. The fact I had to argue with someone to have gratitude and respect for their significant other is a telling sign in itself. I could keep going on. We argued for an hour, but I have made my decision and really think it is for the best for me more than anything. I am in a great spot to start over. She said she would agree to dissolution, even split. She keeps the house and her assets. I keep my cars and purchases and assets, and we just end it. Only thing she will fight me over is 2 animals from my parents. If I don't let her keep them, she will go for divorce, so I will not fight that.